Okay, shall we play? Okay, play. Good subject for tonight. I'm going to approach this problem of contemplation in respect to the way in which Plato outlines the steps leading to the one, or the good. Same thing, good or the one. Now this is the fun part. If we take the Republic as our model, there are many studies that are the preliminary studies. It presupposes, of course, that you've already gained a grasp of what he means by music and gymnastics, which is not the popular understanding of it. So you go from arithmetic, as you know, geometry, solid geometry, though that's not yet available. And then we're going to astronomy, harmony. These are the preliminary studies. What's interesting about them is that before you can start this quest to the contemplation of the one, it is already assumed that you must be able to pull these together and see their kinship, what he calls their kinship and their community. Now, this is the prerequisite, understanding what he means by music and gymnastics. And music, as you know, is really being able to recognize certain states of mind. And you're familiar with that in Plato's Republic. And gymnastics is not to build physical strength, but rather power, a sense of power. So these both are not used in the contemporary sense. Now, if you study arithmetic and geometry in the way in which he describes, you're going to study arithmetic, which really is the question of what, after all, is the nature of the one. That's this. What's the goal? Goal is to start. The first study is arithmetic. What's the question? What is it after all, which is the nature of the one? It has a particular and interesting purpose, you see. It brings one to be able to grasp what he means by being, especially that aspect of being which has the capacity of turning upon itself. Now, that aspect of being, of course, is going to be extremely important because that's the whole problem with man, turning around to be able to see the goal. Geometry is doing the same thing as arithmetic. The same method is going to be applied to arithmetic. Geometry takes the same way of approaching arithmetic and geometry, that's astronomy. Harmony is going to take the similar methods. So in that sense, there is a kinship and community to it. So let us assume now you have grasped what music and gymnastic is, and you've practiced it to some degree so that you can become involved in this. You're familiar with how he's playing with the idea of the one as an object of study. You can see the way in which that varies through each of these studies of arithmetic, geometry, solid geometry, astronomy, and harmony. You can see that. You can see the whole goal of the study is not only to explore what is the nature of the one, but that turns the person about so they can then therefore encounter this curious thing sometimes called ousia, or being, the kind of being that turns upon itself. That's essential. Now then, all right, the contemplation of the one. First prerequisite. The studies prerequisite. Seeing their kinship Fourth, being brought to a vision of the idea of the good. Now, when you use this, this must always be a capital I, because it is not equivalent to a thought, an image, and any mental thing like that. In Plato, it's a very poor translation to use that, because the word is to behold the good. And we have previously identified that as an experience of the nature of beauty itself. What is it about it when it experiences beauty in itself? This is the luminosity. This is the luminosity that reveals the nature of being. Has three aspects. Aspects, not parts, aspects. It is an intensely real, therefore we can call it being. There is a vitality to it. It's not dead. Right? And it is mindful intellect. So it has these aspects to it brought together into a unity. Now, the goal of this curious game, you see, when you experience this, he says, you really don't have reason. You only gained reason or nous out of this experience. It's that experience that brings one to this. Now, what is significant about that is this turning about. This turning about is nothing other than intellect turning upon itself. And that's the ousia. That's the ousia. Therefore, intellect wants to know itself, and in knowing itself, it prepares itself for this final assault, which is the nature of the good or the one. So then, let us assume that we have now someone who has grasped the whole idea that the most important thing to do is to be able to study different states of mind and recognize them, as well as their appearance, as well as to whatever degree it is present in a person, as well as its opposite, music. One has already therefore seen the need to generate energy, power, right, not physical strength. Right? Let's assume now that they're familiar with the studies of the philosopher King, arithmetic, geometry, solid geometry, astronomy, and harmony. All right? They can now see that there's a kinship to them and a community involved. There's something common to them all. They all link together. They're brothers and sisters, as it were. They belong to the same family. Then with that, then, this individual has in some way grasped to some degree, hopefully as much as it is possible, right, this experience. It's at this point that this